Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined in the studio today by Craig Burley. We've kicked things off with a big game in the Champions League. Bayern Munich taking on a Barcelona. Fun match this, especially I suppose if you're a Bayern fan, as they would take all 3 points with a 2-0 victory. It was 2 goals in a matter of 4 minutes that really changed the course of this game. Barcelona had plenty of chances in the first half, but Hernandez and Sané scoring early in the second half would kind of define the result of this game. Bayern then 100% so far in their Champions League group. And once again, you take a look at the record between their two sides. 7 games, all competitions. 5 defeats now for Barca and 2 draws. Well, for more on this game, let's welcome in, shall we? Don Hutchinson is with us, as is Ali Moreno. Craig, this was a good match, fun match.
Well, Bayern started well the first 5 minutes. You told me I was late in.
Yes, yeah, no, they did.
You blame me, because as soon as I came in... Look, Barcelona in the first half in particular played after the initial onslaught from Bayern. Barcelona got a grip of the game and played some really good stuff. Now, we knew this was going to be the acid test this early in the season. The best, the biggest team they've played on the biggest stage. And in terms of their football, they actually handled it pretty well the way they played. We can talk about the defending in the second half from the set piece and the open play goal from Sané in the position of Araujo and Christensen. But the bottom line is this game pretty much come down to Robert Lewandowski fluffing his lines.
Yeah.
I mean, the main man going back to his old club, getting some great service. Neuer made a great save from Pedri. But Lewandowski could have had this game 2 or 3-0 at half-time, and Xavi could have sat down, they could have said, keep it tight, let's control the game. But it didn't happen because he fluffed his lines. We don't say that often.
No.
But that's what happened in this game. And then Bayern came out after half-time, bang, bang, a couple of goals, and then we're able to weather the little bits and pieces that Barcelona threw at them. So good football from Barca at times, but a bad result.
It's no exaggeration, though, is it, Ali? You look at Lewandowski, and he scores those goals in his sleep normally.
An average night for Robert Lewandowski today would have meant 2-0 at halftime. That's an average night. A great night for Lewandowski would have meant probably 4-0 for Barcelona at halftime. The chances were there. And if you're Barcelona, and if you're Xavi, and a Barcelona fan, and you're sitting at home and you're thinking, who do we want these chances to fall to? Robert Lewandowski. Well, they did. And there were times in which his first touches popped up on him. It was just behind him. He seemed like he was a little rushed. It wasn't the cleanest game from Robert Lewandowski, certainly not in front of goal. And now you allow Bayern Munich to hang around in the game. And this, in the first half, surprisingly, from Barcelona's perspective, became a transition game, which usually we do not equate that with Barcelona. But because Jamal Musiala was dropping underneath and was right on the shoulder of Sergio Busquets, and there was no outlet for Barcelona through Busquets, they bypass that, they go in transition, and now look at Barcelona with speed, finding spaces and getting open and finding runs ahead of the ball, and now it falls again to Robert Lewandowski. Again, an average night is 2-0 at halftime. It would have been a different game. Of course it would have. Bayern Munich don't care. Barcelona, I think, would be discouraged by the final result, but encouraged about how they play, certainly the first 45 minutes of the match.
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it, Don? Like, how much do you read into the result here, considering what happened, particularly in that first half?
It was actually quite a simple game to analyse, Dan. I thought Barca for 45 minutes, I thought they were sensational. I thought Gavi and Pedri in the middle of the park controlled the game in a difficult atmosphere away from home in the Allianz. I thought they were good. I thought Rafinha looked sharp. I thought Dembele produced some incredible moments. He looked really good as well, back to his best. The guys are right. I mean, when Lewandowski puts his head on the pillar tonight, especially the volley, because the volley for a pro is actually quite simple. Whether he was just a bit anxious, whether he was desperate to score against his old club and he snatched at it slightly, I'm not sure, because he's only inches over or centimetres over the crossbar. And then credit Julian Nagelsmann, because he's been under pressure. He's had 3 draws on the spin in the Bundesliga, and he took Sabitzer off half-time. He brought Goretzka on, added a bit of muscle, added bite in that midfield. And then, again, 2 goals inside 3 minutes took the game completely away from Barca. But I thought Bayern looked really, really good. It's like It's like when they got those 2 goals down, especially the first one, it gave them that shot of confidence. Then they got the second inside 2 or 3 minutes. Then all of a sudden, every one of the Bayern players wanted the ball. They didn't want it in the first 45. They were struggling. Second half was an onslaught in the second half. It was Bayern very much so back to their best. But I think Xavi would analyse that and say, well, on another night, we go in at half-time 2-0 and cruising.
But that's, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's the message he's given the players, but it's a bit of a moot point because I said to you over the last couple of weeks and couple of days, I don't need to know Barcelona can play good football. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise that Pedri and Xavi and Busquets at times will pass it around, and it's not a surprise that the armoury of Rafinha and Dembele in great form with Lewandowski, who had his off night. I really don't need to know that. I don't think that's the big question here. They will score goals. They will score against most teams. The big question is, under pressure against better teams than Cadiz and Vallecano and Sevilla, can they keep it out at the other end? And yeah, one was a set piece, but it was poor marking. I think it was Alonso that lost Hernandez. And then the gap that appeared between the 2 centre-halves for the Sané goal was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. And let's not forget, their Achilles heel is going to be their defence, Barcelona that is. And here we have a side without the main striker in Lewandowski, who's gone to them, without a natural striker, who are reportedly still hunting around for a Harry Kane, still see that position as a problem, and yet we're still able to weather the storm and win 2-0. That's the big question mark for Xavi. Not can Robert Lewandowski do it, because we know he can. That was an off night. Not will he get a supply chain, because he will. The big question at this level is that other end of the field, that back four. And I'm afraid just after half-time today, it was left wanting.
Take us through that second goal, Ali. Where did it go wrong for Barca?
Well, it starts in the position taken by the 2 center backs, and as Leroy Sané, who started the sequence down the right-hand side, and he starts running through the middle of that back line, now you have both Ronald Araujo and Christensen out of position. But then you don't have a natural right back in Jules Koundé, a natural right back as he would have seen his center back get out of position. Then you tuck in. Koundé somehow feels like, well, maybe I stay wide out here because I'm picking up the guy on the left-hand side. Well, never mind that, Jules Koundé. You play center back. If your guy is out of position, you got to come and cover the middle, and then you worry about the guy on the outside if the ball gets laid off to him. To me, it was so many mistakes in the same play, but it's a free run from Leroy Sané, a change of pace, and it exposes an area that Barcelona has had issues with for years. Not just tonight, but for years, and that is athleticism through the middle of the field. Athleticism through Busquets, athleticism through the center back position. That is why Gerard Piqué is not on the field, because if we go back in Champions League play, remember Piqué trying to chase down Kylian Mbappé. How did that work out? Well, it didn't. And those are images that stay with Barcelona fans, and they say, okay, well, we're going to bring a little bit more athleticism than having Ronald Araujo and Christensen. Well, yes, you have more athleticism, but you have guys who get themselves out of position very easily, and Jules Koundé, who's not a natural right back, not tucking inside, and now you have Leroy Sané walking to goal.
Having said all of that, it was still a great goal by Sané, Don.
It was a brilliant goal. Do you know what I liked the best, Dan? I liked the little ball from Musiala. When you see it again, it looks like a routine 5-yard pass, but he got it on the half turn. He recognised where Leroy Sané wanted the ball to be played, and that was in his stride. It was a 5-6 yard pass, but the weight of it, the pass appreciation was perfect. He put it into Sané. Once Sané gets into top speed, there's no one going to catch him. And listen, I think their Achilles heel, Barca, when I watch them, Dan, is when I look at the individuals that play at the back. I mean, every single Chelsea fan will tell you that Marcos Alonso can't play as an orthodox left back. He's a wing back. Andreas Christensen the same. He can't play in a flat back four. Then Eric Garcia comes on at the end. You know, these are not skilled defenders. They're good players, but they're not top-end defenders in the system in a flat-back four. And I think if Xavi keeps playing Christensen and especially Marcos Alonso in a four, I can see, like Craig said, I see the top-end team scoring plenty goals against them, because that's not the position or the system those two guys especially play their best football in.
What was interesting, I thought, in the second half was the choice by Xavi, Ali, to bring on Ferran Torres ahead of Ansu Fati, who I've been really impressed with so far this season. and then he comes on with just 10 minutes to go and it's difficult for him to make any sort of impact.
You don't like Ferran Torres, do you, Dan?
I just bring up the
point. Yes, it would have made sense to have brought on Ansu Fati, and given the player that you're taking off, in that case was Rafinha, Ansu Fati gives you a similar profile. Ferran Torres is a different player because he's going to sort of tuck inside and be a second striker alongside Robert Lewandowski. So when we talked about the potential starting 11 at the beginning of the season, I was thinking, okay, if you're going to play Dembele down the right and then you're going to play Ferran Torres down the left, it's because he's going to accompany Robert Lewandowski through the middle and gives you, again, a second presence at the back post. But given what we have seen early on in the season from Ansu Fati, you would think that he would be the first off the bench on those outside positions. It hasn't been the case. I still think there is an element of trust that is not quite there from Xavi and Ansu Fati. I think Ansu Fati is going to be the answer long term, but in the meantime, it seems like Xavi prefers the option of having Ferran Torres combining with Lewandowski inside the 18-yard box.
Where do we go from here?
Well, I think there are some, while there was a lot of smiles from Nagelsmann at the victory, and of course, I think there will also be some concerns about his defence as well.
Right,
but I think, again, we knew that. It's not something that's just popped up tonight. You go, oh, they've got one or two problems at the back. There's been a lot of changes in that back line, not just over the last week or two, but certainly over the last year or two as well. So yeah, he's got some questions as well, and I suppose not having a natural striker as they don't, and they've coped not too bad. People say, well, they've drawn 3 games in the Bundesliga. Yeah, but they left some players out, certainly at the weekend, for this game, with this game in mind. But yeah, it is what it's painted to be. This group is going to be an excellent group with Inter in there as well. Obviously, Pilsen are going to be whipping boys. But one of these big boys is going to drop, and there's no guarantee that just because Barcelona have spent this money that they're going to get through this group. And I think Xavi knows that. And I think that's why it was so important to try and go away and get something in the Allianz to take back. And they didn't. Yeah, he'll paint it about the chances and the way they played, fine. But they're going to have to get some results away from home in this group that is going to be very, very tight, particularly when they travel to Italy to play in.
Yes, that's going to be a key game.
Yes.
Obviously, Bayern have already done that, already taken 3 points. Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.